Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the Glory Glory Man United podcast. I'm your host, as always, Kyle Quinn. And joining me today is Jay Motty from Stretford Paddock. How's it going, mate?
Yeah, it's good, man. It's good to be back. It's been a little while, hasn't it, since we last chatted. So yeah, we were just chatting then, weren't we, about how we're still full of optimism at the minute, and we'll see how long that lasts.
Full of new season optimism for the moment. Um, I really, we got off to a good start, and I'm hoping that we can build on this and beat Brighton and Liverpool and go into the international break full of, more optimism.
Yeah, well, this is the thing because like the Brighton game is a tough test. You were talking a minute ago. You said like Fulham at home. I know we lost last season, but I expect us to win that game, and we did played all right. It's good to see the debutants doing well, particularly Mazraoui and Xerxes. But I feel like going to Brighton, who've obviously got off to a good start with a 3-0 win away at Everton. Also, the fact that they are a good team, Brighton. I know they've had a few changes and whatnot, a new manager, but they're still a very good team. And if you can go there and get a result, then I think that stands you in good stead because to go in the international break, I think we've got Liverpool before the international break, is that right? Or
That's right, yeah.
yeah. So if we go in this international break, I mean, obviously Liverpool game's a different one, but if we can go into that on a positive one, then that stands you in good stead, especially when we've got the likes of Luke Shaw to come back from injury. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens. I'm nervous. I'm a bit worried because Brighton is a lot tougher than Fulham, especially away from home. But there's been good signs so far from Manchester United. Been good signs in what we've been doing off the pitch, and there was good signs from that Fulham game. I think you can see what the new signings bring. You can see that the players are up for it. I don't think it was an amazing performance by any stretch of the imagination, but there was some positives there. So it'll be interesting to see if we can continue that with a trip to the Amex.
Yeah, so before we continue, if anyone new join us, please smash a like in the video and subscribe to the channel and get some of your comments in, and we'll get to those later. Now, Jay, this is not going to be a softball interview. This isn't going to be like Elon Musk chatting to Donald Trump. This is going to be more like Jeremy Paxman and interviewing Ed Miliband.
Okay,
You
yes, I
tough enough,
like that.
Jay?
I
You
like
tough
that
enough?
analogy. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Do you remember that? Am I
Yeah.
tough enough? Am I tough enough? Yes, I'm tough enough. Yeah, it was
He
the
says,
least convincing tough enough one it ever. And then he didn't he trip up as he left the stage as well. Was that a different one? I can't remember.
yeah, might have been the same one. Yeah, he says, hell yeah, I'm tough.
That was it. Hell yeah, I'm tough enough. Yeah, it was ridiculous. It was so bad.
Yeah, although I wish he had won that election, but he didn't, unfortunately. But yeah, let's get to the point at hand. The reason why I'm saying that is that I'm going to come on to Marcus Rashford from the off here, and I know from watching your channel almost every day, I know you're a big fan of the player. But we have three wingers at the moment. I think you know where I'm going with this, that are capable of starting for Manchester United. Garnacho's been sensational from the bench and from the Community Shield onwards. Ahmad has done really well at the back end of last season and in pre-season, and he started off reasonably well in the Premier League. And it's fair to say that Marcus is the most underperforming out of the three of them. Um, if this continues in the Brighton game, and Ahmad has a good game, Garnacho comes off the bench and has an impact again, will we have to start looking at leaving Marcus out of the starting 11?
I think that's an option. I think that's something that's got to be considered. And I've said this a million times on Paddock, and I said it on other channels as well. I feel like Marcus Rashford has to have a good start to this season. I feel like there's a lot of eyes on him, and I feel like this is almost like a make or break season for his Manchester United career. I know that sounds a little bit melodramatic for a player that scored as many goals and played as many football matches for Manchester United as Marcus has. But if you look at it under Erik Ten Hag, his first season was very good indeed. It was his best ever season, 30 goals, played a big part in helping us win that Carabao Cup. I think he scored in every round, including the final. Then you go back to last season, didn't really get going. Wasn't great. Had some moments, scored some good goals in some big games as well, the likes of Liverpool, City, and Arsenal, of course. But it was a poor season for Marcus Rashford, and I feel like if this season he doesn't start off well, Erik Ten Hag is going to be under pressure himself. Let's not forget after last season. Let's not get it twisted. I don't think he can afford to wait and see if Marcus Rashford gives him a season like he did 2 seasons ago, or if it's going to be another one like it was the previous campaign. So I think Marcus Rashford has to start off well. he didn't do much against Fulham, if we're being brutally honest. He has to do more against Brighton. But if he doesn't, then you have got Garnacho, you have got Amad Diallo. Who knows what's going to happen in terms of whether Jadon Sancho is going to stick around or whether he's going to be an option or not. But there are options there. He might even look at it further down the line, Erik ten Hag, and try Joshua Zirkzee and Rasmus Højlund both playing up top. So if he does, that could end up being making life more difficult for Marcus Rashford in terms of the spaces or the places that are available. So I'll be interested to see what happens. I think Marcus Rashford is a good player. I like Marcus Rashford, but he has to perform this season, and he has to perform now. He's got to get going. It's all it's all well and good saying, oh, it takes a little while to get going in the season and all the rest of it. But there's no excuses really. I think against Fulham it wasn't great. Has to be better against Brighton. We have to see something. He scored at that ground before. We have to see something from him. And I think that if we don't, I'm not saying it's going to happen straight away, but I think Erik ten Hag will be in the back of his mind thinking, how long can I wait? How long can I be patient with a player who has had one good season for me and one underwhelming season for me?
Yeah, and Cam Moon in the comments says, got to beat Garnacho and Ahmad against Brighton, so he already wants him out of the starting 11. People are getting impatient because they're taking last season into account as well, of course. Will Baker says, totally agree, Jay. Marcus needs to perform this season if he is to stay at the club. And Ridwan here says, Fabrizio just posted a Man United, here we go, for a new youngster. Yeah, I'll take a look at that in a second. Yeah, I think Ten Hag doesn't really want to rock the boat early on. But if we get into September and Rashford still isn't performing, I think he is going to have to bring Garnacho in on the left and stick with Ahmad on the right. Now, there's absolutely no chance that Sancho or Anthony are going to displace Rashford in the team because they'd be even worse, in my opinion. It's difficult to see them being anywhere near the team, and Sancho might not even be here beyond the window. And just on that, Jay, I just I don't think there's any chance that Sancho's going to get into the team anytime soon, unless there's an injury crisis. I don't believe that him and the manager have made up. I mean, the big giveaway was when Garnacho scored in the Community Shield. Ten Hag had the chance to celebrate it with Sancho, and he absolutely did not do that.
It was a bit embarrassing. One, it was a bit like a bit of cringe that moment, wasn't it? Where you can see Erik ten Hag just turns to go and celebrate with him, clocks who it is, and then thinks, "Yeah, I'll leave that." Yeah, it was a little bit awkward to say the least.
To say the least, yeah. Can you see him leaving before the window shuts?
I can. I think, as crazy as it sounds, there's this talking of him going to Chelsea, and I think that might work out for him in the way that Chelsea do like to sign players. He is still an exciting player, Jadon Sancho, and he did okay at Dortmund last time round. I don't think he set the world alight, but the fact that he got help get them to a Champions League final obviously does him a lot of favours, because it's like it's on his CV as a Champions League runner-up. And he obviously had that amazing game in the first leg in the semi-final against Paris Saint-Germain. So maybe Chelsea look at it and go, we can still get a tune out of him. I think if you can get a tune out of Jadon Sancho, there's a player there. And he might like it going back to sort of where he's from. I think he's from down south, isn't he? So he might like it and he might be able to fit in there. But the only trouble is Chelsea at the minute is just an absolute bin fire. With all the players they've got, 40-odd players, a manager who's basically just said half the squad to go and train with the Rezzies. I'm not interested. It does seem like a bit of a mess. But is it a better mess for him than staying at Old Trafford, where he's got a manager that obviously doesn't really get on with him and has obviously, made him sort of train with the academy players himself last season and tried to move him on. So I think a move to Chelsea might make sense for everyone if that can happen. I don't know how deep Chelsea's pockets still are, but that could be one way you go, okay, let's cut our losses, Jadon Sancho. Chelsea get a player that on his day is fantastic, and United can get him off the wage bill as well, because I think his wages are huge. I think they're about 300k a week. So you're looking at PSR and stuff like that. It doesn't help you, especially when you got a player who, let's be honest with you, he's never really done it for Manchester United. He had some moments. It was 2 years ago today that he scored that goal against Liverpool. He's had, one or two other moments as well. But he's never looked remotely like the player he was at Dortmund that first time round when we saw him getting, 36 goal involvements in 39 games. Absolutely phenomenal, sort of Lionel Messi type numbers. He's never got near that, and I don't think he will at Manchester United, to be honest with you. I just don't think it suits him. I think it was a move that just wasn't right for him.
definitely not. And I don't think that he applies himself well enough, to be honest with you. Um, yeah, when you look at Garnacho and how he applies himself, it's just a world apart from Jadon Sancho, in my opinion. Um, yeah, at Chelsea, Raheem Sterling's already been left out of the squad, and that was a big story last weekend. But Sancho, in his favour, what he would have in his favour is that he's new, so he's more likely to be given a chance by the manager. Um, yeah, like I would say most of the new signings, whereas more the players that've been there a while are probably going to be some of them going to have to be set aside, obviously, because the squad is nearly 50 players, which is absolutely obscene.
It's
um,
mad when you say it like that. It's just it sounds crazy, doesn't it? It's just what is going on there at all.
yeah, it's amazing. At some point, surely they're going to break these PSR rules this this coming season. You'd think, um, but I know the PSR rules are being ditched for something else. I think at the end of this season, but we'll see how it goes. Um, it looks like PSG certainly out the window for Sancho at the moment. Uh, but who knows what could happen? We need a club who can pay those big wages, even if it's only a loan again. We want to get all the wages off the books. But another player's been linked with a move, of course, Scott McTominay. It's not going to be Fulham because Sanderberg is gone there now. I don't think they're going to sign two midfielders. I think Napoli's still on the table, and Brighton have been linked as well. My feeling at the moment is that Scott is going to stay another year. How do you see it, Jay?
I wouldn't be surprised if there was a little bit of a last minute move for Scott McTominay. I think there's a player there. I think if you look at his goal scoring record, it's pretty good. I think he can offer something to most Premier League teams. You look at his attitude; he's always never really been in question, has it? He's always sort of got on with it, whether he's a starter or not. And I think a few teams towards the end of the window might look around and go, "We need someone in midfield. We need someone who can maybe nick us a goal or can operate in different roles." And maybe Scott McTominay is that guy. I think his star at the minute is quite high after the campaign he had last season for Manchester United and for Scotland as well in the qualifiers for the Euros. So I just wonder whether it gets to sort of the end of August or what is it, 10 days away of that, and look at it and go, do you know what? He might be worth taking a punt on. He might be what we need. So it's 50-50 for me. It's 50-50. There's not much long left, but I still think he is a player, a very good player, and I think he could do a job at most teams. I just don't think you can rely on Scott McTominay to start week in, week out for Manchester United. And that's what you got to look at when you look at some of the squad players. You go, could you rely on them if you had to, week in, week out starting? And I think with most of the squad, if you look at him, if you look at, say, someone like Joshua Zirkzee, if Hoyland was injured, could you rely on Zirkzee? You probably could. Could you rely on, say, Mason Mount if everyone's fit if someone's missing and you had to bring him in? I know he's not set the world alight, but I think there's still a player there and there's still a feeling that he could do a job for United. Again, defensively, could you rely on Lenny Yoro when he's fit? If he had to come in, yeah, you probably could. Can you rely on Scott McTominay though if he had to play sort of week in, week out? There was a time last season where he scored a load of goals, came into the side and was sort of starting, I think, every game. And he started sort of 10 games in the row. And I think he scored a couple of goals against Chelsea. And then for the next 9 games, he didn't do anything. He didn't score, he didn't assist. And also his general play wasn't great. I just think he's not quite good enough if you're going to be pushing towards the top. I know last season we weren't, but I think that it might be best all round if Scott McTominay moves on. He might not want to, though. He's been at the club since he was a kid. Still obviously got a role to play. It's just whether he's going to be happy playing a bit part rather than being one of the main starters.
Yeah, Aram here says that Napoli have signed Billy Gilmore today, so that might change things. Um, but it's worth mentioning that Ten Hag still wants McTominay around. He's very useful asset, as we know. But it's very strange that United turned down a 30 million bid for him last summer, had the season of his life, and now United can't even get 25 million for him in this window. It's just strange the way that has worked out. Um,
It is, you're right. And you think, really? Some of the players that get signed and get sold, is he not worth that for that sort of money? Is he not worth that? But then again, you don't know whether it's wages coming to a factor, whether it's the player's willingness or unwillingness to move. We don't know what's going on behind the scenes.
I think the midfielder that we need the least is Christian Eriksen. I I, I couldn't see him starting 5 games this season if everybody stays fit. or most people stay fit. He's definitely bottom of the packing order in terms of the senior midfielders available. But I believe that he settled in Manchester with his family and doesn't want to go. But I think United would like to move him on if possible, and they get a very, very minimal fee given his age and his contract. But to get his wages off the books. Do you think there could be any movement regarding Eriksen in the next week or so?
Again, potentially. I mean, he is a good player. You see what Eriksen brings to the team. You see him on the ball. He's fantastic, and he can help control the tempo of a game. The trouble is, he doesn't sort the sort of role where you're asking him to do a lot of running, get stuck in, put a foot in. Let's not forget for Denmark in the Euros, he's one. He's their main guy. So he's still an important player and still a very talented player. If he is settled, though, let's not forget Christian Eriksen's been through a lot. And Manchester United had to sell him on the idea of coming to United as well. He'd been at Brentford. Brentford wanted him to stay. And United sort of went all out to get him. I think give him that 3-year deal with a further year, I think it might have been, and just said, look, we want you at Old Trafford. We want you to come here. And if he's got a family and he's, look, I made a decision to come here for the duration of his contract, he might not want to move on. He might want to stick around. And I still feel he will play some part. I just don't think you can rely on Christian Eriksen. He might be able to play, certain games in Europa or whatever, but I do feel like he's not quite, even the player that we saw when he arrived, I don't think he's quite that player anymore. So, yeah, ideally he'd probably move on, but I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't, because I don't know how many clubs are actually coming in for him as well. It might be a very small number of clubs that he's got to choose from, and he might just think, look, I've got another year, I think he's left on his deal, I may as well stick around.
Yeah, I don't think he'll mind if he has to stick around. But I do think we'll get one or two more out the door, and I do think that Ugarte will be the one that comes in, possibly an emergency left back again. We're back there again, 12 months on. But Ugarte, according to Fabrizio earlier on, seems that it's moved another step closer. We get that with every transfer, don't we? That's what's one of the stages of every transfer, edging closer, edging closer. But I think it's only days away now, and that'll be a crucial signing because it gives us the Casemiro starting to fill me full of hope again. I thought I'd lost all hope in Casemiro last season, but seems to have trimmed down and looks really motivated to prove people wrong and started off the season well. But I think we'll get the best out of Casemiro if he plays once a week, and having someone like Ugarte as an option will enable us to do that. So yeah, I think he would really help our attacking midfielders, really free them up if he's there providing a shield for the back four. So it's not a sexy signing, but it's something we absolutely need, isn't it, Jay?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, look, we've all been saying it. We need a midfielder. We need someone who can get a foot in and get hold of the ball and intercept those balls as well that are being tried to play through, and just sort of be a little bit more of a sort of almost like a water carrier, if you will. So, yeah, Ugarte looks like he fits that bill. I want to see someone alongside Kobe Mainu or behind Kobe Mainu. I don't like the idea of him having to do all that work on his own. I think Casemiro isn't quite the player he used to be, and I don't know if he's going to get any better as he gets older. He's 30. Was he 32 now? And he's not looked great over the last year or so. I know he's had a half decent pre-season. So I think a guy, he seems to me, man, it looks like there's a bit of legs there. It looks like it's going to happen. And I think we need to make it happen. We need that type of player in this midfield. Let's not forget, we've got fewer midfielders now than we had at the end of the season because we've let Amrabat go. So it's it just seems a little bit naive.
Yeah, I can definitely see this getting done because PSG have signed João Neves and they need to get Ugarte off the books. So I think one way or another it's going to be done. It could be a potential loan with an obligation to buy. That looks like the most likely outcome at the moment. But I think we're only days away now from having him. And yeah, he's definitely going to be here for the Southampton game after the international break. I don't think there's any doubt about that at the moment. And another great thing about him is that he never gets injured. He's like Bruno Fernandes. Now I've cursed him now,
Yeah.
haven't I, by saying that? But that's something. There's so many players at United who are injury prone and don't have great fitness records, but he is one that just he's always available. So that's always handy to have a player like that. We need more
Yeah, I
of
mean,
those.
look at United with injury record. You can't ignore that, can you? We need that. We need someone who's available because we've had so many injuries. You want someone who you at least think has a decent record. Because some of the other players we've even been linked with, even some of the players we've brought in, their injury record is a little bit patchy.
Yeah, definitely. And I don't like the links to Ben Chilwell. I mean, the last person
Yeah,
on
you've seen
earth.
his injury record. Oh my, it's worse than Luke Shaw's.
Yeah, he's missed like 100 games. The last person on earth that you bring in to replace Luke Shaw is Ben Chilwell. Well, maybe except for Malacia, who unfortunately looks like he might have lost his career at this point. I'm not sure if he'll ever play for United again. It's very sad, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. I mean, you hate to see that to a player, and when it keeps dragging on, it keeps dragging on, it keeps dragging on. You do feel the worst. I mean, look, we never know. We might do, but it is a bit of a shame because he seems like a popular figure as well. A lot of his teammates like him, a lot of fans like him, and he's always a positive guy. But you do feel the worst because this has been going on for quite a while now, and doesn't seem to be any sort of concrete time when we know he's going to be ready.
It's beginning to remind me of the Owen Hargreaves situation.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
how
it's
it
frightening.
feels. I remember the Owen Hargreaves one dragged on and on and on and on, and then he came back one game. I think I can't remember, it was against, might have been Wolves
Wolves.
or Wolves. Did his hamstring after 10 minutes, and you just feel like this it's not going to have a happy ending, and that's how it feels now.
Yeah, he came on against Wolves and lasted about 10 minutes, and famously Bebe came on to replace him in that game.
Really,
Yes,
I didn't even
I
remember
remember.
that. I remember him going off. I didn't realize it was Bebe. There's a quiz question for you, then, isn't there?
Yeah. And I remember him crossing the ball straight into the Stretford end in that game, Bebe. Yeah, I was a bit of a strange signing by Fergie. I think him and Coris Quiros are blaming each other for signing Bebe. No, you recommended him. No, you recommended him. And
Yeah, it felt a bit odd, that one, didn't it? It was a bit weird. Something went on there. I don't want to get into it, but something
yeah,
wasn't quite right, shall we say? Don't want to cast aspersions on Sir Alex Ferguson, but what was going on there?
yeah, you don't sign a player that you've never seen. That was very, very odd. Um, Dan here says Ugarte is class CDM. It looks like it's all about done. What's good is Casemiro has looked is good so far, as I was saying, and this season Ugarte will come in and then Casemiro will get rested. Yeah, you could probably rotate the two because we're going to have 8 Europa League games at least between now and January, which is it's just madness. This if we go all the way in the cup competitions, we could have 70 games this season. So we're going to need two players for every position. Left back is definitely an issue as well because Shaw and Malacia are both out again, and I thought he'd play Maserati there, but he's preferring him at right back at the moment, and he was superb against Fulham. And Dallo, not quite as good at left back as he is at right back. And I actually don't believe that Dallo is world class anyway. I think he's some way off that. I think he should be a squad player. But nevertheless, we need to have a left-footed left back. Martinez didn't look comfortable there in the Community Shield. Um, do you think we're going to have to bring in another emergency loan deal like Regulon, Jay?
It does feel a little bit like that, doesn't it? It feels like we're sort of looking at it and going. The only other thing I can think is maybe you give Harry Amas a bit of a chance. Looked very good in pre-season, good young player. We spoke to him; he's got a good head on his shoulders. I'm a bit concerned about relying on a 17-year-old. That is a worry because whilst you might give him some minutes, let him I don't mind him sort of maybe starting the odd game here and there. But if we've got injuries and you're having to play him week in week out, that would be a bit of a stretch for a 17-year-old to start for Manchester United. So I don't know. Maybe it is a sort of regular type scenario where we do bring in someone on loan. Maybe the manager's looking at it and going, look, we can do what a lot of clubs do and try centre backs at left back or full back, which that seems to be a new thing. When you look at someone like Arsenal, we have Ben White, City do it, don't they, with Nathan Ake or whatever. So it is sometimes an option for managers. But personally, I would like us to have an actual left back. I think the latest was like Luke Shaw was going to be available for post the international break, but we've heard that before, haven't we? We keep hearing Luke Shaw's going to be ready, and he's not. So ideally, I'd like us to bring someone in, but if not, then maybe try Delo and see, if he can cope until the players come back, or if not, maybe Harry Amas gets a few more minutes.
Yeah, I'd love to see young Harry get a chance, but he played most of pre-season and then he's been left out ever since. He didn't make it on the bench for the Community Shield or the Fulham game. So Ten Hag obviously feels that it's too early. I think he might start the odd Europa League group match at best, but I don't see him being a regular left back this season anyway. So potentially he could swap Delo and Maserati eventually. And Dillo is definitely a better player on the right, and Maserati is equally comfortable on both sides. So it wouldn't surprise me in the next couple of games he'll swap them once Maserati beds in a bit more. But he's off to a superb start. He was my man of the match against Fulham. I know Xerxes will take the headlines for the goal, and he did well in his cameo. But for me, Maserati was probably our best player on the day. Um, so as we've said, Brighton is going to be such a difficult game. Huge step up from Fulham. Um, they're off their flyer by winning 3-0 at Goodison, albeit they were helped by the 39-year-old right back Ashley Young getting sent off, and that's been coming for a while. I was amazed he got a new contract. Um, yeah, I think he's probably too old to be playing at this level now. Do you remember the Forest Everton game where he should have given away 3 penalties and he got away with all three? I think it was back in
I
April.
remember it well. Yeah, yeah, I do. Yeah, yeah. I mean, look, I like Ashley Young. I think he did a decent job at Manchester United, but and fair play him playing for so long. I didn't see the game though, but I saw obviously he got sent off. Not great for him, obviously. But yeah, he's always had one of them in him, Manny Ashley Young. Sometimes he does like sail a bit close to the wind. I don't think he's a dirty player by any stretch of the imagination, especially when you're that age as well, because you're going to be getting caught out. So sometimes you have to use a little bit of, sort of street smarts and your experience to try and get you out of trouble. And sometimes he's been very lucky, and obviously he wasn't lucky against Brighton.
No, and him and Matoma is a complete mismatch. And I was thinking to myself, we've lost Wan-Bissaka now. He normally marks Matoma out of games. Matoma's even talked about being disillusioned when he was talking to Japanese media about playing against Wan-Bissaka. But after seeing Maserati against Fulham, I'm not as worried anymore because I think he's an accomplished defender and he will relish the challenge himself. Um, but no doubt about it, they've got the players to hurt us. Then so are we. You have to remember that we're not Everton. You know, we're a damn good team and we're capable of going here and winning. Of course, we won at the Amex in the 38th game of last season. It's a bit of a dead rubber because, we hadn't got too much to play for and our focus was on the cup final. So it's easy to forget that we won 2-0 that day. I think it's the first time we won there with the crowd present. So it'd be nice to go and win there again, but no doubt it's going to be tough. Brighton tend to start off seasons very well. You always get off their flyer. They have a really good record against United in August. So let's go there and put down a marker and win the game. But I think it's going to be tight. I'm going to go for a 2-1 win for United. What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, I could see it being close. I think I went for a draw on Paddock, so I'll do that thing where I'll pick different scores on different channels, and then one of them will be right. So I get your point. 2-1. I wouldn't mind that. I'll go with 3-2. I think we can. I think we can beat him. Yeah, I think it'll be a close game, but I think we can do Brighton. I know they had that very good start, but like you say, Ashley Young got sent off. Everton are a bit up and down anyway. You never know what team you're going to be playing against when it comes to Everton. So I think Manchester United hopefully can build on that Fulham performance. And like you saying, some of the players we saw making a debut, like some Mazraoui, like Xerxes, and even Delict in his little cameo look good. I think the new signings can play the part, definitely.
Yeah, they absolutely will. I think the question is, will Xerxes play his part from the bench or will he start, Jay? What do you think?
I've got him to start. I had him to start on our preview, but I don't know. I think there's a sort of a big doubt there, isn't there? Because some people looking at it going, he played, what was it, 20 minutes against Fulham. Can he start in the Premier League? Yeah, he didn't have much of a pre-season. Didn't have any, did he, pre-season, to be honest with you? So maybe he's going to come off the bench. But if it was up to me, he'd start anyway. 100%. I'd like to see him starting. I think we missed it. We missed the striker against Fulham. You can see the difference it made just when we had an actual striker on the pitch. And I'd like to see him start against Brighton. And I think he could. I think he could do, and I think he should do.
Yeah, I would start him as well. Unfortunately, that probably means that Mason Mount will drop out. Um, I really want to see Mason do well, but it's not quite happening for him at the moment, and he's not got off to a good start this season. It was a bit quiet against Fulham, and he had that chance which he didn't take. I know Bruno missed a couple of chances, but we know what Bruno can do. Yeah, he's got nothing to prove, whereas Mason Mount has got it all to prove. So if Xerxes comes in, I think the Mount will be the one that drops out. Dan was asking, should Reguilon come back in on loan? Would you take him? What do you think, Jay?
Yeah, I quite like Sergio Reguilon. I don't think that's a bad idea. Yeah, I don't know how he went to Brentford, didn't he? I don't know how well he did there. But if we had to bring someone in, you could bring someone who actually knows the club and understands it and has put in some decent performances. I would love us to bring in an option at left back, and he's certainly showed that he's capable of playing for Manchester United. So yeah, I'm not against that idea. I think it's not the worst idea I've ever heard.
Not the worst idea, but I have to be honest, it doesn't excite me. Like, it doesn't get the juices flowing thinking about getting Reguilon back in on loan. But
I
sure,
know that is the problem in it, because it's like, whilst it's fine. I get your point about it, Flow, because it's a bit like, okay, we're bringing back a player that probably didn't do what. I know he didn't get much of a chance, but didn't set the world alight when he was there. He did okay. So yeah, I get it. It's not exactly like, oh my god, it's like Ronaldo's coming home. Yeah, it's a bit underwhelming, but it might just need to be that. It might need to be one of those signings. Those are the signings we might have to make.
I don't think anybody will be getting Reguilon on the back of their replica shirt anytime soon.
No. I mean, you never know. I've seen some strange things on the back of shirts, to be honest with you.
Yeah, you're right when you say that he hardly got much of a chance. I mean, Ten Hag was playing midfielders a left back ahead of him, so what's the point in bringing him in if Ten Hag's just going to play midfielders in that position anyway? So it just seems like a waste of time to me.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, if Ten Hag doesn't really rate him, then, and obviously let him go back out, let him go back to Spurs, and then obviously went to Brentford, then maybe it's a bit of a non-starter. It might just be one of those where you think, okay, he did well, but not well enough.
So unless Ten Hag surprises us all and drops Rashford for Garnacho, there's only one other position that's really up for debate, and that's whether Harry Maguire continues, who was excellent himself against Fulham, continuing on his Q4 from last season, or does Ten Hag's golden boy come into the 11 centre back? What do you think?
Sorry, you just broke up there for a split second. Sorry, what was your question? Sorry.
Do you think against Brighton the manager will stick with Harry Maguire after having such an
Oh,
excellent
sorry,
performance,
yeah. Or Delict.
or Delict? Yeah.
Yeah. I think he'll go with Delict. I thought Harry Maguire was probably man of the match against Fulham. I thought he did very well. I know you was mentioning it earlier. Thought he, it was one ropey moment with, I think, with that stupid dive. But other than that, I thought he did quite well. Certainly commanding in the air, carried the ball well as well. But I think De Ligt has come in to start football matches. And I think after giving him whatever it was, 10, 15 minutes, however long it was, I can't remember, now is the time to start him. You're not going to start him against Liverpool. Start him now against Brighton. Let him get used to playing in the Premier League properly. Let him get used to starting alongside the likes of Lisandro Martinez and Diogo Dalot and Nusayr Mazraoui. So, yeah, I think De Ligt needs to come straight in, because whilst I like Harry Maguire, I think he gets a little bit of unfair criticism. I think De Ligt's just a better footballer, and I think he'd be a better player for Manchester United, so I put him straight in.
Yeah, I'm more than confident in Maguire being an able deputy if we have injuries at the back. I mean, he's actually playing so well in the last, in 2024, basically, he's been playing so well that, at the end of this season, I'm already thinking, we could give him a 1 year rolling contract, because if he's willing just to be a squad player and come in when he's needed, and if he's willing to do that for Manchester United, I see no reason why we shouldn't just keep giving him 1 year contracts depending on his form, because that's how well he's doing in my book. But we know that he's not ideal for what Ten Hag wants to do. He wants to play a high line, and we know Harry isn't the quickest. So I feel as if I think Leach is always going to be in the starting 11. But what's really going to be interesting, though, is that when De Ligt and Lenny Yaro are both fit, who's going to be first? Who's going to be the first choice pairing?
That's a really good question, that, and I think it's something that is going to have to be addressed eventually. I think for now, with De Ligt and Martinez, maybe might even be next season where you go in, look, how long is Lenny Yoro going to have to wait until he's the first choice player for Manchester United? You look at it and you probably go, okay, Martinez has had injuries, Lilit's had injuries, Yoro's had injuries. They're not all going to be fit at the same time, forever. But there might be a scenario where they are fit for, say, you've got all three available for 6 months or whatever, and you're going to have to make that decision. I think for now, it'll be De Ligt and Martinez. I would never drop the Sancho Martinez, but I think further down the line, you might have to make a decision on Euro and De Ligt.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting, but it's great to have so many good options, isn't it? For so long, we've only really had a starting 11, if even. And then when people get injured, we're looking at the bench and we don't have the same quality there. Big drop offs. But now we're building a bit of a squad, aren't we?
Yeah, we are, and that's been the problem at Manchester United. Once we, like you say, the big drop offs. Once we've had one or two players injured, you look at the players that are coming in to replace them, and they've just not been that great at all. Or not, I don't be too harsh on them, but some of them massively inexperienced, probably not ready to make the step up. You've seen how many of them have just come in and then barely featured again, and then gone out either on loan or been sold. So now it does feel like the general squad depth and the ability of the squad, or the levels of the squad, has gone up a little bit. It's not everything's cured by four signings, but it has helped. So yeah, I just feel that if we can add one or two more in this transfer window, it'll be a real positive one.
Yeah, definitely. So my lineup against Brighton is Onana, Mazarahi, De Ligt, Martinez, Dallo, Casemiro, Menu, Ahmad, Garnacho, and Xerxes, but I think Rashford will play. So I think it's more likely that Ahmad will drop out if Garnacho comes in. I think Garnacho is been so good, and I think he's got another level, maybe another 2 gears to go up. He's still only 20, but he's in such good form and has been since the beginning of last season. We just can't leave him out. I know he's great when he comes on as a sub, but he has to start. You have to pick your best players. It's as simple as that. Um, so I think sooner or later he has to come into the starting 11, be it for Rashford or Ahmad. For me, probably Garnacho is probably our best winger. Probably has the highest ceiling as a player as well. So I'd like to see him start. I'm sure he's chomping at the bit. I think the only reason why he's a substitute is because he didn't have any preseason because he was at the Copa America really. So obviously Brighton have got a few threats, and we've talked about Matoma. Obviously, they've got João Pedro is another one. But another one we're very familiar with is Donny Wilbeck, who has a bit of a knack for scoring against United. So hopefully he doesn't do it again this time, Jay.
Yeah, listen, I love Danny Welbeck. I was gutted when he left, and like you say, he has a decent record against us. Hopefully, he won't. I know he got off to a very good start in the opening game, man of the match, and he got a goal as well. So yeah, we have to keep our eye on him. But I think De Ligt and Martinez should be able to cope with him, despite how good he is.
Yeah, that guy.
Yeah, you
Um,
know that.
yeah, and hopefully Casemiro doesn't slide in on him and miss the ball on the man. Thankfully, Cas hasn't been doing as much of that in this season so far. He's improved in that element. But Casemiro has been so good in the other end of the pitch as well, isn't he? With his link up play, his creativity, and getting on the end of set pieces. It's something that we don't. He's not really there to do, but it's a great bonus all the same, isn't it? I think Casemiro is just going to get goals as always, isn't he?
Yeah, definitely he is, and I think that isn't the issue. That isn't the question around Casemiro. And I don't necessarily think that's what we need from him. We need him to be able to sit in front of that defence and stick a foot in like he used to do at Madrid and like he did in that first season at Manchester United. And I don't know if he's still got that ability. If you get him further up the pitch, you can see he can pick out a pass, he can score goals. He's very effective up that end of the pitch, but that's not where we need him. We need someone who can sit in front of that defence, and that's why Emmanuel Ugarte, if he does come in, fits the bill.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't think we'll ever see the Casemiro of Ten Hag's first season, but he can definitely do a lot better than he did last season. And so far, so good. But Jay, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show as always.
It's good to chat to you, man. It's been a little while. I appreciate you getting me on and keep doing what you do, man. You're always smashing it.
Yeah, thanks for that, and I'll no doubt watch your preview later on, and hopefully we get the 3 points against Brighton. All right, I'll see you later.
Good stuff, brother. Take care. See you in the next one.